This is the story of the one. As a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility, he knows keeping the line up and running is a top priority. That's why he chooses Grainger. Because when a drive belt gets damaged, Grainger makes it easy to find the exact specs for the replacement product he needs. And next day delivery helps ensure he'll have everything in place and running like clockwork. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
If you're holding Coca-Cola stock and it suddenly goes from $75 to $73, what do? Sell, sell, sell! If you're holding Tesla... Apparently, I didn't want to finish. Welcome to the Dynasty Pulse once again, right here on Fantasy Sports Advice Network, on the Undroppables, and on terrestrial radio 101.5 FM, Talkin, West Tennessee. It's a Dynasty Pulse show. I'm bigz. Grindberg is with me. Coach Retzlaff, Schultzy, my clowns from another circus, and we are the best ball knowers in the business. There's stiff competition out there, but we're stiffer. We're here to talk about a little bit of weekend recap, what we saw over the week one slate of NFL games, and also some stock up, stock down players. If the stock is up, you want to sell for what like a lot of stuff. If it's stock down, you want to go buy it. Players.
Potentially, yeah.
How are you guys doing?
Doing good, man. Week 2, it's surreal because the fantasy football season's almost over already. It's already getting into week 2, and playoffs are around. No, I'm just joking. I mean, it's going to come that fast. So
you know whose stock is up is Chris's Smoked Pickles. Find Chris's Smoked Pickles on Facebook. Go to Facebook Messenger or text him at 907-723-5034. Chris is doing big things in Big Lake, Alaska. Best pickles you'll ever have. Also some trail mix, smoked meats and cheeses. He's making relish out of the pickles. It's fantastic, and you can't go wrong. You can't. And if you use hashtag bigz in your message to him, you'll get a special treat that only bigz viewers get.
There you have it. A little special pickle.
Is that a surprise treat, or do we get to know?
I don't know. I just made it up.
He's pickling and slickling. All right. Well,
I hope he starts getting messages and they'll just have hashtag bigz. He's like, what the heck?
No, I'm going to send him the commercial that I recorded, and so then he'll know. Oh, I got to do something. It's probably a pickle slut sticker, maybe, or I don't know.
Or a pickle. Free mail pickle.
We'll see.
There you go.
One loose pickle.
What's going on, Coach? How's it going, man?
Man, just keeping up with everything. Like you say, it's water fire hydrant season, and it's going to be rapid, but it's kind of neat how we just get the rhythm of the season. You know what to expect. All off season, it's a different form of content. In season, it's just reactionary. It's on the fly. You just got to jump on the bus, be ready, be reactionary in the moment, be fluid. But at this point, between week 1 and 2, it's a matter of keep conviction on your preseason takes, but also be fluid. I'll give a prime example real quick. I'm still in on Calvin Ridley, but I think it's just going to hit week 3 when he goes and plays against the Colts. He has a good stretch those next 4 weeks, but weeks 1 and 2 are a real rough go. Remember, Terry McLaurin did that last year. He ended up very, very good on that Monday Night Football game against the Bengals. And then another area where I'm fluid is David Njoku. I'm bearish on him, but I'm bullish on the outlook of the Browns tight end room with Harold Fannin Jr. So you have to be on the fly, fluid, making moves, whether it's redraft, you're churning and burning the back of your roster. Nothing more humbling than the bottom of your roster where you're like, hey, 18th round, this player. And you're like, nope, I'm immediately out on him, and I got to churn and burn for somebody else. It's so funny how you start and what it looks like at the end. And this is just the start of it. It's just so funny where just a few weeks ago, your teams just look so great in their own spot and place. And now you're making decisions on, okay, will Drake May be playing? Is Brock Bowers out? Who do I put in? all those things, flex decisions. You think you're good for a week and you're not, because everything happens. Just ask the San Francisco 49ers. How many of you have Brock Purdy shares?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I made the point on the Fantasy Forecast, also available on Fantasy Sports Advice Network, that we draft people for a reason. So you might take a week 1 L, but don't tinker too much. If we look back on 2024, Jaden Reed finished as wide receiver 1, Cooper Kupp as wide receiver 2, and Allen Lazard as wide receiver 3. Reed went on to finish as the wide receiver 29. Kupp finished as the wide receiver 38, and Allen Lazard finished as the wide receiver 60. So even if a couple guys had some huge games in week 1, it tends to not be that way through the course of the season. Stick with your priors. Stick with your confirmation. You drafted guys for a reason, and unless there's a catastrophic injury, like to Brock Purdy or to George Kittle, don't tinker too much.
What about, okay, I'm gonna bring out a situation here then.
Yeah.
That it's not even on the show sheet. It's not even anywhere near that. Now, what type of panic mode are we in now after seeing a backfield that we were so high on in a Clint Kubiak offense, thinking that somebody is gonna get the lion's share of the workload, and now you see a split, and somebody that's getting the hot hand like Zach Charbonnet, and his values now skyrocketing because his ADP was so good, and now you got a guy like Kenneth Walker, who a lot of us in this room are pretty high on headed into this season. What are we doing in that situation, Biggs? Are we panicking at this stage? Are we just holding still?
No panic. You don't make major changes unless replacing catastrophic injuries until week 4. Perfect example. We talked on the forecast about Hollywood Brown. Hollywood Brown was one of the major fab and waiver pickups this week because people were reacting immediately to his week 1 performance. Now, number one, he's in a Chiefs offense that spreads the ball around to a lot of different players. You never know who's going to be the number one week to week. Also, he's an older guy. So you are going to make that waiver pickup, but you're not going to be replacing your Jamar Chase, who had 26 yards. That's not what you're doing. You're going to replace a bench player that, like Ty Felton, that you drafted late and you were hoping that he was going to get some early field time with Jordan Addison, but that didn't happen. The other thing, and this is kind of like don't answer a question with a question, but I'm going to ask you rhetorically, of course, because we all know the answer. What's the difference between Zach Charbonnet earning a higher snap share in week 1 and Kenneth Walker the whole rest of the season versus maybe week 14, the Seahawks are adjusting a little bit. Game script makes it so that Charbonnet earns more snaps than Walker does. But that happened in week 14 versus week 1. Are we going to be panicking on Kenneth Walker if it happens week 14? No. So we kind of have to look at it in terms of it's the first week, but it's also the middle of the season. So don't overreact to certain things. It's all kind of fluid, and things can happen later on in the season that don't make us react the same way we react in week 1. So wait a few weeks before you start making any major changes.
Great
On
advice.
that note, all right, we all got something here. On that note, with the Seahawks, I think it's also important to know he missed some off-season time. So this is a new offense. So Charbonnet kind of had a leg up on, being on the field and the installs and stuff. So yeah, it might take a couple weeks here for Kenneth Walker to really get the full load. And it's not time to panic. It's a wait and see. It's a wait and see approach.
And that's kind of the beauty with Dynasty Fantasy is that a lot of these things that we're talking about, there are week-to-week fantasy scoring topics, but also we're talking about full roster construction. So if you're going out to acquire a guy in week 1 or week 2, you're thinking more long-term, whereas when you're setting your lineup, that's maybe a little bit different environment. Go ahead, Coach.
And you have to take a look at what is your exposure. Like for me, 13% to 8%. It was a ratio where I had much more Charbonnet than Walker. In redraft, I clicked Charbonnet almost 100%. So I'm excited from that vantage point. So if you're in one area where you're driving versus another exposure, you're happy or you're sweating. But then again, as Big said, so much can happen in the wrinkles of a season, what if the Dallas Cowboys decide, hey, you know what? We want to acquire a big back, and Jerry Jones, big name, right? And Jerry Jones decides that back is Kenneth Walker. We would think maybe it should be somebody like Breece Hall or Jonathan Taylor, but he could just find satisfaction in, hey, that Kenneth Walker can short ball out. And then we get a split off where we're happy for Charbonnet and we're happy for Ken Walker. Everything that occurs, though, I think is just not a surprise because we laid the cards out for all the outcomes. We've talked about the Nick Chubb who can catch passes and ball out in Ken Walker. We've talked about Charbonnet being like a Bitcoin, that he can just like flourish and thrive. Pete Nova had a tweet out there where he talked about, hey, just buy one piece of Bitcoin in Zach Charbonnet because the payout could be epic. We've ran the exercise of you should, in round 5 or wherever in the startup it is, get Ken Walker and cuff him with Charbonnet, where we break the rules on redraft, where you get them both because you know the asymmetrical upside for the entire backfield, but you understand that the run out can just fall out so many different ways. We are actually ready for this. The 13-12 split in total touches, there's 3 targets for Ken Walker to no targets for Zach Charbonnet, but Zach Charbonnet gets the touchdown in close. Zach Charbonnet gets the leverage 2-minute offense where you're like thinking, okay, you want to be in those situations, extrapolate out. There's so many positive runouts that can continue to happen, but I would say vantage-wise, the pieces of the offense favor Charbonnet, whereas it's a diminished role for what you were paying in Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker in round 5. Breece Hall, who ends up falling towards round 5. You got a much better epic run out for what was supposed to be a timeshare in the Jets backfield where, yes, Braylon Allen did snipe a touchdown. You saw the usage that was bullish there for Breece Hall. Not as bullish for Ken Walker. So there is some absolute panic there where the build-in of Charbonnet just getting something is an epic change because it used to be Ken Walker thrives. If he's out, it is Charbonnet. Kind of like DJ Giddens with Jonathan Taylor. And I'm sorry I'm talking a lot. I'm just on this roll. But right now, DJ Giddens is what Charbonnet was a couple of years ago because it is the Jonathan Taylor offense. But now we have to adjust to the shift that it is neck and neck, Charbonnet and Walker. Hope that made sense.
Yep.
Yeah,
Combinatorial.
Totally I love it. It was a good segue for our top stories of last week, essentially. A couple dynasty scenarios that we need to touch base on. I got a couple questions for y'all. The first story we're going to talk about is JJ McCarthy's 4th quarter takeout. A dynasty quarterback is born. What we might have witnessed is the birth of the next big thing in dynasty. His first NFL game after missing the whole 2024 season with a knee injury. McCarthy went into what was a dud of a first quarter or 3 quarters, essentially. The Vikings offense, it was lifeless. It logged just 5 first downs and a measly 6 points. And then the 4th quarter came and he delivered 3 straight touchdown drives, 2 through the air to Justin Jefferson, Aaron Jones, 1 on the ground where he erased an 11-point deficit to secure a 27-24 victory over Caleb Williams and the Bears. This was nothing short but poise, presence, and that dog mentality. Looking forward to seeing what he has in store. Now, Jeremiah McCarthy just made NFL history with his first NFL start, showed that dual threat upside, looked completely in control in crunch time. He's already got Jefferson, Addison, that is, obviously not playing right now, but he's going to be added to the mix. Aaron Jones looked great. And, Jordan Mason, another addition there, good pass protection. So does JJ McCarthy now belong in the top 12 dynasty rankings headed in to now week 2? Or are you is this an overreaction at this stage?
Well, look, I'll recall it was Grindberg, myself, Schultzy, and Chev. We were all adamant about JJ McCarthy being a top 12 quarterback. And bigz was just like so against it. Like the 4 of us were just like, he's top 12.
Like tier 1, we need to do it now.
I feel like we're all vindicated. So
on 1 quarter. Yeah.
So if you'll recall, though, bigz was very high on pushing him into that upper tier, JJ McCarthy. And I wasn't against it, but I just didn't speak up so much. So I will credit bigz. He was really much on JJ McCarthy. I can see the path to run out. Let's talk about a little bit of how he went, and then we'll run down, just by the weekly rankings that we have for quarterback, and I'll posit to you, gentlemen, what you think. But JJ McCarthy, he attempted to pass with time to throw between 2.5 and 4 seconds on 65% of his attempts in week 1. That was the highest in the NFL, and that's from NFL Pro. It's a nice stat that they pulled up. So he's going to get the ball out quick and rhythmic. McCarthy's touchdown to Jefferson threw with a little bit of anticipation in watching it from the end zone angle. He just sorted it down the middle, and Jefferson, it was just good timing, something you like to see. In the pass to Aaron Jones, just dropped it into a bucket on the outside pocket of the field. Not quite what Garrett Nussmeier did against Clemson in week 1, but it was very impressive. It's a vulnerable spot on a deep pass on the outer boundary for a quarterback to pull off, so that takes guts. McCarthy also, I notice he's not afraid to step up in the pocket, and he's very decisive of whether he will run or not. So he's patient, and he's going to make sure he makes a good decision. You want to see that poise in a young player. And then his interception, it came on a blitz. So he threw a ball across his body entirely. He's going to want that one back. I imagine when McCarthy watches the film, he'll see that and understand he's got to make a better decision and maybe just get rid of the ball in that situation. But, hey, first game starting in the NFL in regular, you got to give him credit for how he did, because he started down 1.3 fantasy points through 3 quarters. And then he ended up, as you said, Grindberg, that last quarter, ended up with 23.2 fantasy points. So he really showed some guts, some guile. He's very much a gamer. And let's go look. I've got the Fantasy Pros. Let's just run down the gamut of the quarterback rankings. You have Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, Jaden Daniels, Justin Herbert. I don't think you would start him over Justin Fields after what happened. Now I'll posit to you, gentlemen, because right now McCarthy is 16th. This is just for the week, but maybe we can talk Dynasty too. But Kyler Murray or JJ McCarthy, gentlemen, what do you think? I'll start with bigz.
I'm giving the nod to McCarthy. He's only going to grow, and we saw that. Like, this kid won a national championship as a junior, came out as a junior. That's one of the big profile aspects that you want to see. Most quarterbacks that come out after their junior year are very successful in the NFL. So that's a big, huge check mark for him. We saw what he was able to do in game. A lot of adjusting, and he kind of got his feet under him and absolutely excelled. He's going to get Jordan Addison back. This is going to be a fully formed team in a few weeks. He's only going up from here. So if I'm looking at my sleeper only shares, and I have Jackson Dart and Geno Smith both with 17 shares out of 39 leagues, and then Drake May at 9 and JJ McCarthy at 8. So I'm huge on the kids and Geno Smith, putting a lot of faith and a lot of stock in this new era of quarterback, guys that are mobile and can put up points in bunches. That I see that from JJ. Now, if we're talking JJ versus Kyler, I like what I'm getting in the air from JJ McCarthy much better. And I think that, he's going to, that Vikings offense is going to be in more games because of JJ McCarthy's arm rather than what Arizona is going to be in because of the feet of Kyler Murray. You know what I'm saying? He's going to be able to score in bunches. And Kevin O'Connell, I mean, like we saw what he did with Sam Darnold last year. It's real. It's a real situation. JJ McCarthy is good. On a week-to-week matchup basis, do I like Kyler Murray this week better than JJ McCarthy? I don't know. Let's look at the tail of the tape. We have the Vikings going up against Atlanta and the Cardinals going up against Carolina. I really, really like Kyler Murray this week.
So there you have it. There's Kyler Murray, but at least it becomes a discussion, right? And I think the optimal run out for JJ McCarthy would be that he's somebody like Joe Burrow, where he presents opportunity for a win through his arm and keeps his weapons viable. We saw Adam Thielen. He looks like he's cooked. No fear on Jordan Addison. Granted, it's early in the season. I think we can get more out of Adam Thielen, but I'm not fearful. Put some buy low offers out there for Jordan Addison. I'm going to skip Grindberg on this quarterback. I'll come back to you, Grindberg, in a moment. But let's go with somebody who might have looked a little bit like he was struggling. Baker Mayfield, Schultzy, or JJ McCarthy.
Ooh, man, that's a solid one. I think I'm going to go JJ, and I think I'm lower on JJ than most. I think the age is a big deal. The Kevin O'Connell stuff's real. And I've mentioned before, I think the Liam Cohen loss for the Bucs may be a bigger deal than we thought. So, yeah, I think I'm going to take JJ in that scenario.
And we'll see with Baker Mayfield, because in week 1, the struggles were there. There's no Chris Godwin, and you have that change in offensive philosophy. They really only heated up a little bit later. Emeka Egbuka ends up having that touchdown, which we all love to see. But it wasn't the shootout clash that we thought it was going to be. It took a little bit warming up, and we don't know, because so many unders hit in the NFL in week 1, if that was just a symptom of the NFL. But case-by-case basis, I like your point on JJ McCarthy. I'm going to say with Patrick Mahomes and JJ McCarthy, I think it can end up being closer. I'm going to give deference to Patrick Mahomes, but things have gotten very ugly very quickly that are out of the control of somebody like Patrick Mahomes. And we may find ourselves on a weekly basis, if you have the two quarterbacks and you have that conundrum, JJ McCarthy being the more optimal play than Patrick Mahomes. But Dynasty, I would still put Mahomes above. So, Mike, we won't put you in that spot where you have to decide. Let's throw one more, and then we can move on to the next topic. JJ McCarthy or Dak Prescott, Grindberg?
Well, I'm going like in a dynasty for sure, like JJ McCarthy for me. I mean, Dak's got a lot of potential, but I mean, JJ's got that rushing upside. He's got those weapons that he hasn't even seen what, Jordan Addison can bring to the table yet. They were in a tough divisional game against the Bears, who were coming in and wanting to make a difference here too. So I think that, that's a really good start for a rookie that, second year. You can't consider him a rookie, even though it was his first NFL start. Getting accustomed to that, and then after facing adversity for 3 quarters and bouncing back like that, I think it shows a really good mentality, like bigz mentioned, that winning a national championship in his junior year, that has a lot of value. And I just think that what I saw in the third quarter is a glimpse of what we're about to see from him. He's got that grit, he's got that leader mentality, and that 11-yard scamper for a touchdown just shows what type of quarterback he is. And like if we saw what Sam Darnold did in that offense last year, I just with that rushing upside JJ brings, and when he can really get that chemistry with Justin Jefferson, really started, I'm just really optimistic. And as one of my bold predictions on the forecast, I said that JJ McCarthy was going to finish this year as a top 12 quarterback, and I'm sticking to my guns on that one still.
Well, to play a little devil's advocate,
advocate.
The first 3 quarters was like historically bad EPA wise per play. Like one of the worst starts the NFL has seen, like bad. It was atrocious.
Well, what have you done for me lately?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's like, but the mental fortitude stuff is real. And that is a huge sign, because a bad quarterback is going to crumble there, and it's going to keep getting worse. So like that is a really huge sign in the development here, like instantly. I still have some pushback. I don't think it's just we're going to see JJ McCarthy in 3 weeks automatically be a top 5 guy. That's not the world I'm living in. But I'm impressed. Like I think top 12. Yeah, I'm in. I'm sold there. I'm not to the point where some people are at, where we're like, this is the next guy for sure. Like I'm not there yet.
And what you just pointed out about the first 45 minutes versus the last 15, it begs the question, what's he going to look like when everything goes good?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it kind of seems like with Caleb, where everything starts when it's scripted, it went well. But where's that second and third layer after you take a few hits? What we saw and we got an answer from JJ McCarthy was when you've been beaten and bloodied very badly, you've still got something reserved in the tank. So we're going to have to see eventually with Caleb Williams if he gets into a start like that. If the shoe were on the other foot and Caleb starts down bad like he did, does he have that reserve and that resolve later in the game to pull off what JJ McCarthy is?
Yeah.
No, he did not.
All right.
When he was, crunch time is when he was sailing balls and looking like Colin Kaepernick. And
it's like they went in divergent spots.
Absolutely, they did.
When it was, hey, everything was scripted and right, it's almost like, hey, when everything's going good, you can do well. We found out, like, it to the point with the question you were asking, one of you had just said, what about when it does go right for JJ McCarthy? It could really open up. We solved for X one of the harder things. What happens when it goes bad? And he came through. So big first test.
Yeah, agreed. So, okay, Schultzy, let's piggyback off that a little bit here. Dynasty managers, they were cooling off, like right off of Justin Jefferson this whole off season, not because of the talent, but the uncertainty with that new quarterback, new chemistry, coming off an injury, and an offense that no one fully trusted. But now what we've seen from JJ McCarthy deliver under pressure with that clutch TD to Jefferson to gain the momentum swing back in their favor. Schultzy, is it time to fully reevaluate Jefferson back in the unquestioned WR1 overall in Dynasty? Is he still in that conversation? Is he taking it now to another step?
There's some layers here. I think the first layer is, what's your answer to the first question we asked about JJ McCarthy? What's your opinion on him? I think plays a big deal on where you're going to rank Justin Jefferson. Number two, I think the conversation's there to be had. It's still Jamar Chase. I'm not going to get convinced otherwise. Talent wise, you could argue either one. Sure, that's an argument I'll leave for other people to have. But when you look at situation, Jamar Chase is locked up with Joe Burrow for the long term in an offense that's going to just keep throwing and throwing and throwing and throwing and throwing. I want a part of that. And it's not a knock on JJ. He's still super talented. I think he's going to be right at the top year in and year out. I'd still rather take Chase based on situation. We just saw this game Monday night in a game that the Bears dominated most of it. Vikings still ran the ball more times than they threw it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you're right. I mean, that's a good assessment of the whole situation there with Jefferson. I mean, I think this brings him back into that conversation, at least, where he wasn't really being compared to that with that at this stage, because Burrow and Chase are, they're solidified. We know that, and there was a lot of question marks around JJ McCarthy. Let's move on to another quarterback situation here, and I'm going to, a little bit pick your brain here, Biggs, on this situation that happened with, CJ Stroud, that franchise quarterback. He enters, year 3 as a fantasy dud. Again, year 2 wasn't great for him after a really, really strong rookie season. The Texans looked completely out of sync, failing to score a touchdown and settling for just 3 field goals in a 14-9 loss. Stroud finished with just 188 passing yards, 1 interception, and added, pretty decent for him, 32 rushing yards, but the stats don't tell the whole story. The Texans, they stalled on every promising drive in the second half. Interception sealed the loss. It was a tough matchup, though. This was a combination of a worrying trend. Stroud has now failed to throw a touchdown in 4 of his last 5 regular season games, going back-to-back years here. The offensive line once again looked overwhelmed. So Stroud was a top 12 dynasty quarterback for most analysts headed into this season, but now he has 1 passing touchdown in the last 5 regular season games. The O-line issues didn't magically go away either, and the weapons, while young and talented, aren't exactly elite yet. How worried are you long-term about Stroud and Dynasty, Biggs? Was the rookie breakout a ceiling play or just a temporary bump in the road?
You know where I stand on CJ Stroud and the idea that nobody is undraftable. It just depends on the price. And you saw last year how I was telling everybody, don't buy Stroud because the price is too high. Well, I don't think he's a top 10 quarterback. I've never thought that, and I thought his rookie season was an anomaly. I'm one of the people out there who have compared his career stats to Aiden O'Connell's, and they're almost dead on. We have to kind of look at this game. He was under duress for most of it, but he did finish with 100% deep ball catchable pass rate, number 2 in pressured catchable pass rate. So even when he's under fire, he's still very accurate, and he has a completion percentage in that game of 70%. His yards per attempt last year was 7.0, and 7.0 again this year. He only threw for 188 yards, but it was only on 27 pass attempts. This isn't a high volume offense, so you're not going to get, unless he has 2 or 3 touchdowns, you're not going to get a whole lot of productivity. That puts him in the second tier of quarterbacks. So if he's in your super flex, not as your QB1, then yeah, he's totally fine. But I don't think we're ever going to see a return on the numbers that he put up in his rookie season. I have him right around the 15 to 20 rank as a quarterback in Dynasty.
I think we were the only program last offseason saying to avoid him, man. Like, there was legit Dynasty people saying he's like QB 2-3. Like, there was that much steam on this guy coming off his rookie season, and it was insane. He had 30% of his production off with like 2 games.
2 games, yeah.
Yeah, he threw for 300 yards his rookie year twice, I think. He threw three touchdowns once.
I think the big thing was his lack of interception streak. It was like 12 or 14 games in a row to start off his career without throwing an interception, and that was a lot of noise.
It was that in that 5 touchdown game that kept popping up on Red Zone that really put him on the map, and everybody instantly was like to the moon with him.
I think maybe some of this really has to do with a missing weapon in his safety blanket in Tank Dell. I mean, Tank Dell really helped propel his rookie season. His safety blanket got injured last year in a catastrophic injury. Then he was just going off at the time too. So, CJ Stroud's rookie season was based off of somebody that he could really rely on in the slot. Maybe they can find that. Maybe that was their idea, bringing in Christian Kirk. He started the year injured, and they weren't ready to start a rookie there in such an important role right away. So it's a really important piece to that offense, I think, that slot receiver. And hopefully once Kirk comes back, we might see some resurgence here. But losing Tank Dell was a huge thing for CJ Stroud, in my opinion.
Well, also, if the cap on CJ Stroud for rushing is something like 200 yards, and we can't even get into that like 400 rushing yards and maybe 3 or 4 touchdown rushes, he's going to have to entirely run pure on passing. It's the Matthew Stafford run out, where if you can run pure on passing and you can go for 400 to 4,500 yards, nearly lead the league in touchdown passes, be top 5, right? That is the bullish case. You're in optimal outdoor conditions. You have a plethora of weapons that they've attempted to surround, which, Mike, you pointed to the fact that Tank Dell, very, very big for CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud always talks him up. Hey, your life is on the line, essentially, or it's 4th down and whatever. Championship on the line. What player are you drawing up? He would put Tank Dell in there. So he absolutely misses him. But you have to, if you're going to be a great quarterback, you have to recycle through your weapons. You have to have iterations. You're going to see it with Patrick Mahomes. He's going to have to reinvent himself beyond Travis Kelce. He had to do it beyond Tyreek Hill, right? So we have to see that from these quarterbacks. And if we're not getting the run out on purely the passing from somebody like CJ Stroud, then it's just going to cause that dip in that production and the dip in the rankings. And that really shows you the players who can be pocket passers, really, like the Tom Brady's or the Matthew Staffords. Just think of a different name of guys who are at the top who solely do it with their arm. They have Drew Brees. You have to just year in, year out, be hyper efficient and get the volume and be overall great. And to say, hey, CJ Stroud is just good to very good is reasonable.
Right.
And we're just seeing regression. And it's so easy to regress as well. Joe Burrow and CJ Stroud have traded spots in Dynasty, and we expect Joe Burrow to run pure on passing, but maybe he falls down. But who do you have more confidence in repeating year over year right now? It's
Absolutely
hands down Joe Burrow. Yeah.
The other problem
Mike brought up. Sorry.
All right, real quick. Texans are a good team. If we're going to run through the passing like Coach is talking about, I want game scripts to play with that. Like you look at Matt Stafford all those years, terrible Lions teams. Joe Burrow, no defense behind him. The exceptions here, we talk about Brady and Breeze, these teams are going to go out there and score 45 points a week. That ain't happening here. So I want them to be playing from behind, and I want them throwing the ball 40 times a game. That's not happening with this Texans team.
And Mike brought up having a safety valve and missing a safety valve in Tank Dell. He's got plenty of safety valves. He threw more passes to running backs and tight ends than he did to his top 3 wide receivers, Higgins, Collins, and Knoll. So he's throwing to Dario Ogunbowale. He's throwing to Damian Pierce. He's throwing to Nick Chubb. He's throwing to
not Woody Marks.
Schultz.
Ladarius.
But Nico Collins got 5 targets. Jaden Higgins got 3. Jalen Knoll got 2. There's something with his mental clock where
pass rush.
He's getting the ball out way too quickly. Whether he's not going through his progressions, whether his wide receivers just aren't open, or he's not giving them time to get open.
I don't think he trusts the guys in front of him.
Yeah, and the offensive line could be a big thing too. But when he is under pressure, he does throw the ball well. So maybe it's a system problem. Maybe there are too many checkdowns, too many fail-safe options, and he can't wait to see Nico get open. He can't wait to see Higgins get open. So we'll have to see when matchups come around that are good game scripts for him. But having 27 attempts and only 10 of those going to wide receivers, that's very telling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And not ideal.
Not ideal for sure. All right. Great conversation. We've been ripping through that. Some great dialogue. Now let's speed through these stock up, stock downs. We'll start with our stock ups. Guys, we're skyrocketing up the ADP charts depending on what you feel about them. They're up there, so you may want to sell them. So we'll start with, I think we got Schultzy first here.
Yeah, so we always talk about this. The fun thing here with stock up, stock down is you can interpret it 2 ways. You can interpret it as, hey, go buy this guy, the price is low. Or you could it could be a matter of fact as, hey, this guy's stock is literally just on the rise. Do with it what you want. And I think here with Bashal Tutin, it's both scenarios. One, long-term, I really like them trading Tank. I mentioned last week when we talked about the Jags backfield is don't be surprised if Tank is the dude who gets traded. He's got a little to offer on special teams. That's one of the big reasons the Eagles wanted him was for kick returning. He's got an extra year on his contract where ETN's only this year, and he's cheaper. So, and I also mentioned LaQuint Allen, who is a pass protector and is going to step in for some of that Bigsby stuff. And so, yeah, we see the trade here, and it's Bashal time for the long term. ETN's got 1 year left, and so now's the time to go buy Bashal Tutin. The price has been a little bit down. There was a lot of hype post draft because of the Bucky Irving stuff with Liam Cohen, that comparison. But then with this whole mix with ETN still here, the Tank hype in the preseason, and then they added another dude in this draft in LaQuint Allen, the Bashal hype has died a little bit. And it's time to buy back before the run comes. I still think ETN's the guy the whole way rest of the season, but the workload for Tutin is going to keep increasing. And I think by the end of the season, it's going to be apparent, this guy can make some plays and rolling into 26. This is his job. So go get him before that price skyrockets on you.
Yeah. I like that call. I mean, it's a very it was an ambiguous situation, and we knew that one of those dominoes would fall. We just didn't know who it was, and obviously the Jags have some plans here. The LaQuinn Allen situation also. It's from what I gather, he's a very good pass catcher too. So he's a good pass protector. So I think he's going to actually see some value here as well. So I think this could be a three-headed monster as far as complementary pieces go to Travis Etienne. I think he is going to be the lead back in this offense moving on for this season, at least for a good stretch of the season here, and we'll see how he does. That huge game in week 1 showed that, you know, they got their confidence in him, and if he can put out another one of these games in the next 4 or 5, that role I think is his for the rest of the season. And unless an injury happens, I think that we got a Travis Etienne backfield there with a couple good complementary pieces, a guy that could get those short yardage, and he's an explosive up and down runner in Bashal Tutin, and somebody that could pass protect and also be a guy that could catch some balls in LaQuinn Allen. So this could be a very good opportunity for all three of these guys to have some value.
LaQuinn
Yeah,
Allen
and I think
loves balls.
Pretty sure he was the first third down back in the game too this past weekend.
And if
he got rotation, LaQuinn Allen.
If I'm not mistaken, it was LaQuinn Allen who gave up 1 quarterback pressure in pass pro last year, second only to Lan Larison's 0. QB pressures allowed.
I think you're right. I do think I remember seeing some crazy stat about his pass pro. So yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. And he's got that under the radar upside with catching balls too. So I love it. Now, who's your stock up there, Jer?
Hey man, talking about catching balls, Keon Coleman, man, stock up on him. You loved all off season in dynasty startups, in redraft streets. You could just 10th round, 11th. It was just at the turn, the 9-10 turn. You could set up your entire team and then run the thought experiment of, hey, tied to Josh Allen, who could end up being the number 1 receiver. Keon Coleman was one of those players. You know, Khalil Shakir, of course, gets that Dalton Kincaid. Hey, what could we get the Dalton Kincaid breakout? But Keon Coleman was there all offseason as well. There were some flashes last year, and then, of course, he got hurt. So if you were kind of paying attention, you could see how things were working, but his price was suppressed. His price was suppressed. Sorry. His routes run, number 1 in the league. So you love to see it. It was a high over under 50.5 game total last week. 81 points scored. And then 11 targets for Coleman. So not junk volume, great volume. 8 catches. He came away with it. Josh Allen trusted him. Get the ball close. He'll come away with it. 112 yards. Remember, the whole thing is can't get separation, but with such a big catch radius, not a problem. And 132 air yards. He had the touchdown. Wide receiver 2 on the week, 25.2 fantasy points. Keon Coleman, you're tied to Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen quite possibly taking the reins back on being the number 1 fantasy football quarterback that you want. You know, it's that Lamar, Jaden Daniels, Josh Allen. Well, Josh Allen certainly reminded everybody why he was MVP. So just great run out, and you're tied to, again, it's like John Madden going, Brett Favre. We're just going like Josh Allen with Keon Coleman. So stock up on Keon Coleman, and if you run the Socratic thought experiment, hey, doesn't it stand a chance that the number 1 receiver in Buffalo could absolutely thrive? And then you just do that little thought experiment. It's paying off right now. The price was stupid for what you had, and the risk not baked in. The risk was very low. So you're thriving and reaping. If Keon Coleman put up an entire dud, that's not determining whether or not you've won or lost your week. But because you got Keon Coleman in your startups and in your redrafts around that 9, 10, 11 turn range, you're thriving. You're doing much better. Positive EV run out. So stock up Keon Coleman.
Love it. Biggs, I want to hear who your stock up guy is.
So Kansas City Chiefs have a problem at the wide receiver position with Rashee Rice being suspended. Xavier Worthy getting hurt. I think he practiced today, but he is banged up. Kid named Hollywood Brown came out 16 targets on 93% snap share against the Chargers. 16 targets. He put together 19.9 fantasy points. We had Juju Smith-Schuster with 5 targets, Tyquan Thornton with 4, Travis Kelce with 4. Hollywood Brown is the leader in that wide receiver room. It's not even close, and he's only 28 years old. Hollywood Brown is only 28 years old, you guys. He seems like he's been around for a long, long time.
Yeah, did they name Hollywood after him?
Yes, correct. Yeah, the area of Los Angeles they named after Hollywood Brown. No, it seems like he's been around for a long, long time. That's just because he was with the Ravens, he was with the Cardinals. He's bounced around, but he's only 28 years old, so he's still got a lot left in the tank. His stock is absolutely up. You might be yelling at yourself depending on when you watch these episodes, but bigz, you just said on the fantasy forecast that he was a sit. Yeah, this week he's a sit. He's going up against the Philadelphia Eagles and the clamp down defensive backfield that they have. So I'm not having any faith in him this week, but in Dynasty, I'm absolutely targeting him because he's gonna pay dividends.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And another guy that's going to be dividends for you. And since his back is healed up and the new rapport with his new quarterback is real, the upside is quietly climbing for Michael Pittman Jr. after battling that fractured back in 2024. He came into this season healthier and hungrier, judging by week 1, fully sync with new quarterback Daniel Jones. It's a revamped offense for the Colts, and it resembles an actual professional passing game, if you will. Pittman reasserted himself as probably the focal point in the receiving group behind, obviously, Tyler Warren, who really shined a lot, as a lot of us had him pegged as. He had physical route running. The chemistry with Daniel Jones was evident. 6 receptions for 80 yards on 8 targets and a touchdown in week 1. He had the most that the Colts wide receiver group has had since week 13 in 2023. 14 and 27-yard gains in the opening 2 drives, 17% catch rate. He played through that back fracture all season last year, but now he's healthy, and he had a career high 72 receiving yards per game in 2023, and I just think that is potentially, it could be his floor this year if he can stay healthy. So he's been productive, and I think the system is going to lead him to more games like this. So, whether you're a big fan of Michael Pittman or not, he is no longer just a safety valve. He's kind of a safety bet at this stage. So we'll see what happens moving forward, but he's definitely a stock up. All right, let's get into our stock downs. Who's first? Schultzy, let's get into it.
Oh, yeah, this one's easy for me. It's Tua Tagovailoa here, and this is not a situation that I'm saying I'm interested in buying. I don't want anything to do with this guy. The stock is plummeting. The cliff's about to show. The cliff edge is coming fast, and we're tumbling down hard. Tua, man, a couple of years ago, when we burst out in this Mike McDaniel offense, a lot of debates in my home league chat. All my friends telling me how great this guy is, MVP candidate. And I'm like, are we watching the same thing? Like, this dude is a function of scheme. It's clearly he's throwing to wide open dudes constantly. It's all timing stuff, which still takes talent, and you still have to execute it. And I'm not taking that away from him. But it was so obvious that as soon as anything broke down around Tua, he was not good. And so that was my big argument for him. And it's just come to life as the NFL defenses have figured this offense out. It's proving itself week in and week out. You can't trust this dude. You give him a little duress and they're going to crumble. I'm fully out on this Dolphins offense moving forward. The Colts aren't good. And that was abysmal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was bad. It was real bad. All right, there, Coach. Let's get into your stock down.
Hey, and this one hurts because you were drafting him thinking he could get excellent run out. Caleb Johnson and Quinshon Judkins. In rookie drafts, you had Judkins prior to, his incident, way ahead of Caleb Johnson. And then, of course, they merged a little bit in redraft street. So in some dynasty startups, they weren't too far apart. And Caleb Johnson, you were thinking, okay, we're going to get viability from Caleb Johnson just because there's not going to be a threat due to suspension or anything like that. And then you have the run out of the Browns, are just a disorderly franchise. You're going to have clogging up of Jerome Ford, Dylan Sampson. QJ might be the guy, but hey, Caleb it should just be him and Warren. And you're just going to get excellent 60-40 split share set up for somebody like Caleb Johnson. What a perfect replacement for Najee Harris, just a younger version of Najee Harris, right? And then we get Jalen Warren with 11 carries for 37 yards. Kenneth Gainwell, 7 for 19. And then Caleb Johnson had the same amount of carries as Aaron Rodgers, 1 for -2, less rushing yards than Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers, of course, that looks to be a kneel down, so that was on purpose. And Caleb Johnson got fewer yards than Aaron Rodgers when Aaron Rodgers was trying to get less on purpose. So a very tough run out. I know it's part of a symptom and situation of the Arthur Smith offense, but you have to understand every day you're clocking in and showing, and all day what you're doing cumulatively is going to get you onto the field. So talent and cream rises to the top. Right now, Caleb Johnson is not doing that. So it is stock down on Caleb Johnson. And I'm not going to blame this on the Arthur Smith offense right now. But what I will say is I think to what Schultzy was talking about, sometimes this is good, sometimes this is bad. It's just going to be a buying opportunity for Caleb Johnson. And go send lowball offers to people in your leagues for Caleb Johnson just for the psychological warfare alone. Because they're tilting, they're frustrated. Now they're sitting there, hey, Caleb Johnson was in the week 1 lineup. He's out of there now. So you might as well just kind of poke and pry at just the edges and see what you can, gradually simmer up your offers to the Caleb Johnson rosterer and see what you can get. And if not for nothing, you're just tilting them because you're giving them crappy trade offers and reinforcing the fact that they know they're holding an asset that's not entirely dead. But my God, you can't. It's not fungible. You're not going to be able to move Caleb Johnson around anywhere. You're just holding him.
Purchase. I did the Quinshawn Jalen Moore or Quinshawn Caleb Johnson double tap in quite a few of the charity tournaments and stuff, best ball stuff. I didn't really expect them to go out and earn the starting job right away, but I do have high second half hopes for both of them. One of the things that Caleb Johnson was doing was returning kicks, and he had 5 kick returns for 132 yards. So it's not like he has been non-productive. Just from a fantasy perspective, he has not helped. He did not help you in your lineup unless you count kick return yards. That's the kind of thing that gets you on the field later on. If he's in punt coverage, if he's returning kicks, if he's doing those things, it's not long before his talent value rises to the top ahead of Kenneth Gainwell, ahead of maybe Jalen Warren. This is a kid that we saw at Iowa go out and see the most loaded boxes in the entire NCAA. Number 2 behind him was Ashton Genty. Caleb Johnson saw the most loaded boxes of anybody when he was at Iowa. That's because everybody knows that they've clocked the Iowa offense. They're going to hand the ball off. So all of a sudden there's 8 guys in the box on every Caleb Johnson run. And he had a great year running against loaded boxes. He's going to do it in the NFL. It's just a matter of time. So go buy him everywhere that you can. And just like Coach said, send low ball offers and see what you can get back.
All right, Biggs, who's your stock down?
Riding along with the Miami Dolphins theme, somebody who I haven't owned in a couple of years, and that's Jalen Waddle. He had lots and lots of summer hype again and failed to deliver. 5 targets in the first game. Something's rotten in Miami. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's Tua. I don't know if it's the defense having figured out Mike McDaniel. I don't know what it is. All I know is I don't want any part of it. The only upside play on that entire team is Devon Achane. You can make a case for Tyreek Hill, but other than that, stay away.
Totally. Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. And another guy that I got as a stock down that just is piggybacking off from one of our earlier segments is CJ Stroud. 0 touchdowns in 4 of his last 5 regular season games, a cold streak that spans, over 2 seasons. It's not just matchups. 9.7 fantasy points in week 1. QB 26, 0 red zone snaps in week 1. He was sacked 52 times last year. I know there's a lot of different things that played into that. His offensive line isn't great, and we're looking at maybe his ceiling, like we talked about. Like he's still a great quarterback, but maybe not that top, QB1 type scenario that a lot of people have invested in. I think he's a mid-tier QB2, and that's where he stands at this spot in my analysis. So definitely a stock down here for CJ Stroud, and we're not going to beat him anymore down that we've talked about him a lot. So awesome show, guys.
Take that, CJ. Take it.
Great show, boys. Always a pleasure chalking shop with you boys. Biggs, take us home, my man.
Oh, we're going home. Okay, seatbelts on. I'm not driving until I hear all the clicks.
Click.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, hey, go to fantasysportsadvice.com and get your membership if you're not already, and sign in and all that stuff. Get our merch at the merch store. Like, subscribe, hit the bell. Watch all of our shows. We've got the Fantasy Forecast with our weekly recap. That comes out on Tuesdays. Points after Thursday night, live after the game, just like the one we're watching right now, currently as we speak last night. And then we got this Dynasty Pulse here show, and we got the Fantasy Forecast Starts and Sits show, and we got Breakfast with Biggs at 8:30 a.m., 11:30 Eastern on Sunday doing Starts and Sits, and also Spilled Coffee right after that, which is one of the best shows in the space. So watch all of them, and we hope you win.
Hope you win, folks. We'll see you next week. Peace.